if we look at the past, you win two. What do you think about the latest developments in Turkey? Berlusconi.
Dün Bugün Yarın'la yeniden karşınızdayız sayın seyirciler. Bu yayını Antalya'dan yapıyoruz. Antalya önemli bir panele, konferansa ev sahipliği yapıyor. Bu konferansı organize eden kişi de, Let's Talk konferansını organize eden kişi de süper model Natalya Vodyanova. Kendisi sadece süper model değil, aynı zamanda bir aktivist, aynı zamanda Naked Heart Vakfı'nın kurucusu. Aynı zamanda 5 çocuğu var sayın seyirciler ve dünyada güzel işler yapmak için yola çıkmış bir isim. Hemen Natalya Vodyanova ile olan sohbetimize başlıyoruz. Yes, Natalya Vodyanova, welcome to Dün Bugün Yarın, which means yesterday, today and tomorrow, the name of our program.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and welcome to Antalya, Turkey. Is it your very first time here in Antalya?
Yes, indeed.
Turkey?
No, I've been to Turkey
Yes.
a few times
Yes.
before.
Natalya Vodyanova, you are hosting the Let's Talk here in Antalya. Talking is important, and do you find it efficient as an efficient tool to resolve the problems girls, women are facing today in our world?
Well, talking is the way we start. It's really about, first of all, getting people together. We have gathered here in Antalya today people from all over the world. We have people from India, we have people from US, we have people from Canada, we have people from Poland, from Hungary, from Germany, from England, from Russia, from Belarus, really from many parts of the world, Africa of course as well, and countries, Middle East countries. And every voice is represented and every part of the world is represented. What that means? It means we are not going to point fingers at who is doing what wrong. We are talking about our own experience in our own countries, in our own lives as well, and what we feel is the right thing to do. The purpose is not only to talk, but by starting this conversation also to achieve a working action plan that we then can also share with activists, policymakers, UN representatives, government officials from all over the world, so they can act on it, but they can also create, localize it in a way, and with their group of activists, their group of NGOs, find solutions, sustainable solutions to this issue, the issue of stigma and taboo around female health.
Yes. Why health? Why did you choose health, the topic? Why?
Well, we talk a lot about gender equality around the world. This conversation is very, very paramount. Yes. It's very present. It's really high on everybody's agenda and everybody's lips. However, what makes us women? It's our female nature. It starts with our reproductive health. It starts with something that, for whatever reason, different reasons in different parts of the world, has become and always has been a subject of taboo and stigma. And what happens in this case? What happens when we have these stigmas? And what that means, we're all human beings in the end. But it just so happens that
It's a natural process.
Boys don't have this. There's no such a thing as shame and stigma around male body. But there are plenty around female body. And if we want to even question gender equality, we need to start question those stigmas and taboos around female health.
Yes, and women, girls who are, you know, at their young age should become more comfortable and more at ease to talk about it. And
Absolutely, and also boys. Boys are, as you heard from many panelists today, boys are great part of solution. You know, these panelists, they're not talking, we hear some stories of failure, but also stories of success. And there, you know, there is data around the fact that if boys are educated and if boys are brought into this picture of educating people around female health related conditions, menstruation, reproductive health of a woman, then by default, both sexes, men and women, feel more comfortable around the topic.
that's very
And
true.
going forward, and also are able to build healthy relationship with each other and create more transparency with each other and in the future with their children.
So this is also about raising awareness for the boys.
Well, it's,
Yes.
yes, of course, we look at men and boys as absolutely big part of the solution because we cannot do it without them. It's sort of the way we cannot solve many issues without women taking part. We cannot solve those issues without men in the room, and we have many men in the room.
Yes. And gender inequality. There have been over the years, despite great efforts, you know, shown by governments, by civil societies, by women's movements, girls are still exposed around the world to violence, to abuse, you know, to many things, many sad things, and we see sad news, sad cases, and they still face many other human rights abuses, girls around the world. What is your solution to this? Do you have any hope?
Education. Education is definitely a solution. Explaining, first of all, a girl should own her body. She needs to be in charge of something that is undoubtedly hers. It's her body. She needs to know that she can say no. She can say no to sexual approaches. She can say no to even sometimes her family, if that's the case. That's what's needed, and that's if something that is proposed and put on the table, it's something she's not agreeing with, because in the end we all grow up and we leave the nest, and it's really important in order to build a healthy relationship with our children to allow them certain choices to be made. But in general, you know, what we call sexual education, but you know, reproductive education, how to protect yourself from violence. It's starting by saying no and being very firm about it. But of course, the situation is very, very different, and that shame and stigma, it comes whether it's a girl in 6th grade in US just really shy to ask for a pad from the teacher, or it's really girls in India and Nepal that completely separated from their families when they're menstruating, or 45% of these young girls fall out of education altogether.
Yes.
In 6th grade, you know, around the time when their period comes. All this is a grave issue that's been needs to be addressed, but it's absolutely a global issue.
Global issue. And when you just mentioned girls not having shame and not being ashamed of what they are going through, and maybe talking out loud. So I want to take this topic a little bit towards the Me Too movement, maybe. Women talking out loud about their experiences of abuse, of harassment. It has started with Harvey Weinstein, and it has spread out throughout the world now, from America till India. even now.
Has it reached Turkey?
Yes, but not as much as in America. I think there will still be, other cases. We will be hearing many stories throughout these years. Do you believe this movement has achieved success?
Today we live in a world of social media, internet, a world when a person who from outset do not have a voice can actually have a voice and can be supported by the community. And Me Too movement has shown, as many other movements out there, that something can become viral and something can really mobilize people around change. What happened is, there are certain controversies because, of course, movements like this will also be used for some people to get revenge on, someone who maybe hurt them in the past in a different way. But it's taken as an opportunity to punish someone who's been mean to you, and that's wrong, But certainly, it probably means that in the future, these men that use their power to access women and their bodies, they will think twice before doing that, because that can end their career.
They will have the fear,
can
maybe.
become a public knowledge. Yes, the fear is there, and these perpetrators, they will think twice before doing it, and this is already a great result.
Until now, there has been, I think, 201 men with, famous names, well known, who had to quit their jobs, their titles, because of this. When we go to the past, we always talk about the past in our program. You have founded 14 years ago the Naked Heart Foundation. When you founded it, what was your idea behind this? I know, I've read it, but I like our viewers to know in Turkey more about this, what you went through with your sister Oksana. We like to hear it from you.
So the mission of Naked Heart Foundation is to build an inclusive world through providing family support services, evidence-based practices to families raising children with special needs, to prevent institutionalization, because many children with special needs, much less now, since the last 15 years, the situation has changed dramatically, luckily. But many of these children still end up in institutions, and many are living in institutions today. And also through building safe and inspiring places to play. For me, when I started Naked Heart Foundation, I started with something very tangible, very concrete, something that the donors can see the effect of, and see exactly where their money is going. Transparency is
and how their lives are changing.
And how the lives of children are changing. But also play, we started with playgrounds, and that's where transparency came into place. But also play is incredibly important for child's development. This has been proved by scientists that child is learning by playing, and child is learning by mimicking other children and people around him. So when we have these inclusive spaces where children with special needs are welcomed together with typically developing children, then they can learn from each other. They can interact in a safe, positive environment where they're both children who love to run or who love to swing, who love to do what all children love to do. And so since 7 years, we also expanded our work to working in schools, kindergartens. We have family support centers. We have early intervention program, which is for children under 5 years old. We have programs for young adults with special needs, like my sister Oksana, who is today attending one of our family support centers.
She's in Russia now still, right?
Yes,
In your hometown.
my sister Oksana lives with my mom, but she's also actually we also have a program which called assisted living, which is incredible. It's first in the country. We have apartments for young people with very severe autism. Where they can live a semi-independent life. They have each their own bedroom, but they have common space, and they have an assistant who helps them to do daily tasks like cooking or cleaning or going to the shops to buy groceries.
To walk out, maybe. Yes.
Some of them will need supervision and assistance at most times, but a lot of them can live independently. But what it means that it takes this burden of the mother away, that she will never know what will happen to her child if something happens to her. But it's still done in a very legal and safe and friendly environment, unlike institutions. That work also was possible because the play parks spread throughout different regions of Russia very quickly because it was so tangible and simple. We work with the local governments, and that enabled us to meet local governments and to break this ice that we are a friendly NGOs and we are just there to help.
And they become more inclusive in the society. This is one of the results,
Absolutely.
I believe. Because what I've read was that your own experience with your sister when you found out and your mother found out she was diagnosed with autism, that in your hometown people were not very inclusive about disabled, and in the country also, I think, does it still exist this? They sent the children to an orphanage?
To an institution,
disabled
yes.
ones.
Unfortunately, it still exists, but much less so than it was 7 years ago when we started working with families. So, if, like my family, if family doesn't have any support, it often means that a mother is left alone because men often leave, they cannot take the pressure, they don't see the future, they don't understand how to cope with it. And so my mother had to raise 2 children on her own with absolutely no help from the government. The pension, you can't call it a help because it's a very small pension, and it's really not enough even to buy a pair of shoes for a child. My mother had to work really hard. And this is a story of really thousands and thousands of women like my mom. But unfortunately, those brave ones who have kept their children at home, they're very divided. And also until recently, there hasn't been many parents' organizations because women are so busy trying to provide for their own family. They have no time for this kind of activity where they can gather together, share experience about their children. And we grew up with Oksana in total isolation. We, everywhere we went, we felt hostility, we felt that people didn't want us there, that people judged her and me for, for just being there, just existing, and getting kind of on their way.
So cruel, this is.
Well, the world is cruel, but it's what we do about it that makes a difference, because you can't blame people that never seen a mentally disabled girl before in their life. So it's really about inclusion, about changing the norms, saying that these people and these issues have place in the society, and these people can contribute to the world.
What is your advice to the parents of those children diagnosed with autism or cerebral palsy? What is your advice to those parents?
Well, my advice is go to nakedheart.org and listen to our lectures that are both available in Russian and English. For now, it's only English. We would love to translate it in many languages, including Turkish. Maybe we will do it with our partner organizations like Special Olympics. But you can get a lot of information there just about the many beautiful lectures on only evidence-based practices. Don't try some kind of, things like horses and dolphins and art therapy and play therapy. They're all wonderful things when it comes to extracurriculum program. But this is not what is going to help your child to adapt to this world. So if you suspect your child has autism, or if you have been diagnosed with autism, your child been diagnosed with autism, please seek only evidence-based practices.
And you yourself are a survivor. We are coming to the end of the interview. I know you don't have too much time. You yourself a survivor, when we look at your life, your early days in Russia, from your hometown to now you live in Paris, big change. You went through a lot. You fought sometimes for your life, for your goals. What would you say? And then it led you to found this foundation. You always go to your goals through kindness, I see in you. What is kindness for you, your own definition of kindness?
Well, I
through
hear
your experiences
I
in
hear
life.
two questions there. First of all,
Yes.
this relationship with survival. I have indeed born into circumstances where dreams were, so far away from my mind. I had no time to dream. I only could think of what are we going to eat tomorrow? What am I going to wear? I used to wear shoes for years, and they would become too small for me. But I had to, keep wearing them because it's Russia. It's cold, and you need something on your feet. But my mother couldn't afford me to buy another pair of shoes. This is indeed it's a survival. And when you live a life like this, if suddenly by chance, like in my case, your life changes dramatically, and really, really dramatically, and you suddenly become, you become comfortable beyond your needs and beyond, your ever expectations. My dream only was to be safe and to feel safe financially, and not to think of where is that bread coming from the next day. Well, I achieved much more than that, and
Much more.
And so this whole baggage that I lived throughout my childhood, it didn't leave suddenly. It does not disappear suddenly, and I was still carrying it where I did not need to carry it. But there's nothing you can do when you've been surviving. You have this need to do something. You have this energy that it's sort of, imagine if you have it's actually like a boat, like a Ferrari.
Yes.
If you don't use those engines, they deteriorate very, very quickly.
But there's resilience, maybe.
Well,
right?
they deteriorate, so you have to use it. But instead of surviving, I turned this baggage into a toolbox and a way to give back to those millions of people I left behind in a situation that I was growing up with, and that I know far too well, and that is really still very present and is with me, and it's encouraging me on behalf of those who are still in that situation to continue fighting. So I'm not surviving anymore, but I'm fighting. I'm fighting for something that is bigger than me, something that's bigger than my story, something that is a story of really hundreds of thousands, even millions of people around the world, where we talk about shame and stigma around disability, or where we talk about shame and stigma around female health. This is an issue that is global, and I feel empowered to do something about it.
And I'm sure very happy when you go to sleep at
And
night.
so my definition of kindness is kindness. It's really about, you know, helping yourself to help others, and kindness, it's not something that is unnatural to us, but then it has to be a practice. You have to practice kindness in your relationship with yourself, with people around you, and especially in the moments when you are challenged. If you're kind when you're feeling good and when you are, you know, in good mood and everything is good, and you're rich and you're beautiful and you, I don't know, whatever it is that makes you feel good and that you need. If you are, and when you're successful, of course, if you're kind in those circumstances, that's not kindness, that's just normal. But kindness needs to be practiced when you're challenged, when someone is, you know, super mean to you,
When you're
and
going through difficult times,
attacking you,
or
when
yes.
you're going through difficult time. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect at that. I'm working on that myself, but I would say that this is the kindness. It's when we go out of boundaries of our own emotions, of our own abilities, and try to come out of that box and do much more than we even expect from ourselves.
Natalia Vodyanova, thank you very much for this
Thank
very
you.
interview. You have anything to say to the Turkish viewers from here?
Well, I just want to wish everybody to be accepted, and for their ultimate purpose and opportunities to be fulfilled.
And we are expecting
Men or women.
and we are expecting you back to Turkey to see you to do this
Thank you.
you know, work for
I
women,
hope so.
and
I hope to be back.
your kindness spreading around the world. Was a pleasure meeting you. Thank you very
you so much.
Thanks. Evet, dün bugün yarının sonuna geldik sayın seyirciler. Önümüzdeki hafta bir başka konu ve konukla yeniden karşınızda olacağız. Ben çok keyif aldım bu sohbetten. Umarım sizler de almışsınızdır. Hoşça kalın.